paper that is in your book. And then between the stations, we'll keep singing verses until we get to the end, and then that'll be number 15. Are you ready? At the crosser station keeping stood the mournful mother weeping, close to Jesus to the last.
We'll begin on page 6, and today we will follow paragraphs 1 in each station. The first station, Jesus is condemned to death. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you,
because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
Behold the man. He is a man of sorrows. He is covered in bruises and stripes. He is made a laughingstock. He is crowned with a crown of thorns. A reed is put into his hand for a scepter. A tattered soldier's cloak is thrown over his naked shoulders. His eyes are blindfolded. His face is covered with spittings. He is bound like a dangerous criminal. His own people have chosen a murderer before him. His friends have forsaken him. The kiss of treason burns on his cheek.
He has no comeliness whereby we shall desire him. He is a worm and no man, the reproach of men and the outcast of the people, and he is condemned to death. Away with him, crucify him. Behold the man, behold the Son of God, behold the man abiding in mankind.
Prayer on page 10. Lord, that I may see, give me light to see you in my even Christian, and to see my even Christian in you. Give me faith to recognize you and those under my own roof, and those who are with me day after day on the way of the cross.
Through her heart is sorrow sharing, all his bitter anguish bearing. Now at length the sword has passed.
The second station, Jesus receives his cross. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you.
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
They have put his own garments on him again, and Jesus comes out from the judgment hall of Pilate to receive his cross.
He comes to it gladly. This is a strange thing, for the cross is a symbol of shame, and it is to be his deathbed. Already he sees the very shape of his death in the widespread arms. From this moment, he will be inseparable from it until he dies on it. He will labor and struggle under the weight of it until the end comes. Yet Christ welcomes the cross. He embraces it. He takes it into his arms as a man takes that which he loves into his arms. He lays his beautiful hands on it tenderly, those strong hands of a carpenter that are so familiar with the touch of wood.
This is not the first time that Christ has welcomed the wood of the cross. It is only the first time that he has embraced it publicly before the crowds. It is a tremendous gesture showing men his love for them openly, because this cross which he is receiving is their cross, not his. He is making it his own for love of them, taking their cross and lifting the dead weight of it from the back of mankind. That is why Christ receives the cross with joy and lays it to his heart. Bear one another's burdens, he told men. Now he takes the burden of the whole world upon himself. Prayer on page 17. Lord, let me receive the cross gladly. Let me recognize your cross in mine, and that of the whole world in yours.
Oh, how sad and so distressing was that mother
highly blessed, of the sole begotten one.
The third station, Jesus falls the first time. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you.
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
At the very first step of the way to Calvary, Jesus stumbles and falls. He is down on his knees in the dirt.
What has happened to this man? This man who had just now declared himself to be king of a spiritual world with legions of angels at his command, who has been known to hold back the overwhelming force of the storm and still the raging seas by an act of his will, who by a mere touch of his hand caused a living fig tree to wither, and has fallen now under the purely material weight of the cross he so lately welcomed.
Only a few moments ago, he held out his arms to receive it, seemingly with joy. Now, at the very first shock of its weight on his shoulder, he has fallen.
The crowd thronging outside the judgment hall are laughing derisively. Some of them remember hearing him say that any man who wanted to follow him could only do so carrying his cross. Now, it seems that he can't even take the first step on the way to be marked out by his footprints without falling.
Lord, We thank you for your compassion for us, for the mercy of your first fall under the cross.
Christ above in torment hangs, she beneath beholds the pangs of her dying glorious Son.
The fourth station, Jesus meets his blessed mother. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you,
because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
Jesus is on his feet again. The cross is put back on his shoulder. Once more he starts on his way. As he lifts his bowed head and looks at the road he is to tread, he comes face to face with his mother.
It is not by chance that she meets him at this moment, just as he falls and struggles to his feet again. She sees that which no one else in that crowd sees, the tiny child taking his first unsteady steps and falling on the garden path in Nazareth. She is there beside him, holding her breath, longing to put out her hands to hold him, to prevent the fall, but she lets him go alone, the little child whose independence she must respect, her son who must learn to walk on his own feet and to walk away from her.
For his mother, those first steps of the baby learning to walk were the first steps on the road to Calvary. The Word was made flesh, her flesh. God has taken human nature, her human nature. The way of the cross had begun. Already his face was set steadfastly toward Jerusalem. It was for this journey that she had fashioned those blameless feet from her own flesh and blood. Mother of Christ, help me to be willing to accept the suffering that is the condition of love.
Is there one who would not weep when dim misery so deep? Christ, dear Mother, to behold.
The fifth station, Simon helps Jesus carry his cross. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you,
because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
Jesus has come face to face with his mother and gone on his way. Now his mother is following him as one of the crowd. How often she, who of all people is dear to him, had been among the crowd following him, glad even to catch a glimpse of him and to hear his voice in the distance.
He is laboring under the cross. It is too much for him to carry alone. Everyone can see that, but no one offers to help him. Someone then must be forced. The soldiers seize upon Simon of Cyrene. It has, or he thinks it has, nothing to do with him. He was simply about his own business in Jerusalem. It seems to him mere chance that he met this tragic procession. An unlucky chance for him, but there it is. He is made to take up the load and help this man, a stranger to him, and whom he supposes to be a criminal on the way to his execution.
Really, there is no chance in the incident. It is something planned by God from eternity to show men the way of Christ's love. I am the way, the truth, and the life. It means that no one is meant to suffer alone. No one is meant to carry his own cross without some other human being to help him.
Again, Christ is proving to the world that he has come to live the life of all ordinary men on the simplest human terms. Now, as he accepts the reluctant help of Simon, accepts it because he perforce must, and yet in his humility, gratefully, he is showing each one of us whom he will indwell, what he asks of us, and what he wants us to give to one another.
Lord, give us faith to know you in your direct need, in your uttermost loneliness, bearing your heaviest load, and unable to bear it alone, in the most unlikely people, in those who do not look like you, who do not speak like you, who perhaps do not even know you, though you are suffering in them.
Can the human heart refrain from partaking in her pain? In that mother's pain untold.
The sixth station, Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you.
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
Now, while Simon labors under the cross with Jesus, while Mary, his mother, follows behind him in the crowd, someone, a woman, forces her way through the rabble, even though the guard of Roman soldiers surrounding him, and comes face to face with Christ. She is driven by compassion.
The face that the Lord turns to her is terrible to look on. It is difficult to believe that it is the face of the Son of God. It is difficult even for those who have once seen his face shining with the brilliance of a fire of snow upon Tabor to believe in him now. Two of them have fled from him, just as those others have done, though they have seen him command the wind and the waves and raise the dead.
Now the face of infinite majesty and compelling beauty is unrecognizable. The eyes which could see into the secret places of men's souls are blinded, swollen from the long sleepless nights of trials and judgment, and filled with sweat and blood. The cheeks are bruised and dirty, the mouth swollen, the hair like ripe corn is tangled by the crown of thorns and matted with blood.
Certainly, there is no sign now of the beauty that could win a man's heart by a single glance, or of the power that can rule the tempests and give life to the dead. On the contrary, here is a man who is the very personification of humiliation, who is ugly with wounds and suffering, who is in the hands of other men who have bound him and are leading him out to die, and who is not even able to carry his own cross alone.
Savior of the world, take my heart, which shrinks from the stark realism and ugliness of suffering, and expand it with your love. Open it wide with the fire of your love, as a rose is opened by the heat of the sun.
Bruised, tear-eyed, thirsty file, she beheld her tender child, all with bloody scourges rent.
The seventh station, Jesus falls the second time. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you.
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
Hardly has Veronica wiped the dirt from his face, than Christ is down in the dust again. He has fallen under the heavy load of the cross. How different it is in reality to the picture on the wall. There Christ seems rather to be genuflecting under the cross than falling under it. He bows his head, certainly, but hardly a hair is out of place. His robes, the snowy white tunic, and the scarlet cloak are still clean and are not torn.
The reality, that which happened 2,000 years ago And the reality which happens in the lives of those in whom Christ lives today is not like that. Christ is thrown down onto the ground, his face in the dust. He is unable to get up until others come forward to heave the cross up from off his back and perhaps help him to his feet again. It is yet another example of how Christ makes himself need the help of others to redeem the world.
They do not know that they are unwittingly taking part in the redemption. Those young Roman soldiers who pull the cross from Christ's prostrate body and help him to his feet. They are carrying out the day's work, obeying orders blindly. It is their business to see that death does not cheat them of their victim until they have dealt with him in the way they are commanded to, until they have crucified him.
It is only because it happens to be Jesus Christ whom they are lifting up and helping to his feet again, Jesus Christ whom they are loading with the cross once more for the last stretch of the road, only because it is Jesus Christ that all unknowingly they are taking a part in the redemption of the world.
Jesus Christ, exhausted on the long road to Calvary, fallen for the second time under the weight of the cross, allow me to be among those who come forward out of the crowd to heave back the great load that crushes you in my even Christian.
For the sins of his own nation, saw him hang in desolation, till his spirit forth he sent.
The eighth station, Jesus speaks to the women of Jerusalem. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you.
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
Now Christ is followed by a great multitude of people, among them women who mourn over him, who weep loud for him. A strange thing happens. He turns to them and says, "It is not for me that you should weep, daughters of Jerusalem. You should weep for yourselves and for your children." Strange, because at first sight it seems that he who accepts every straw of compassion with pathetic gratitude refuses the brave, open compassion of these women. It is, or seems to be, a contradiction. It is not like him to refuse anything from anyone.
We have seen how until now, and indeed all through his passion, he has accepted the compassion of anyone at all who would give it to him, accepting even the forced help of Simon. But this accepting on Christ's part began long before the hour of his passion struck. It was part of his plan of love from all eternity, his plan to depend on his creatures, to need them, to need all that they could and would give to him to fulfill that unimaginable plan of his love.
Father, do not let me find consolation in sensible devotion to the person of Jesus Christ, while Jesus Christ passes me by, unrecognized, unknown, unsought, uncomforted, on the Via Crucis we travel together.
O the mother fount of love, touch my spirit from above. Make my heart with thine accord.
The ninth station, Jesus falls the third time. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you.
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
At last, the pitiful procession has reached the foot of Calvary. Once more, Christ is to go up into a mountain, this time for the last time. Here he is at last at the end of the Via Crucis, at the foot of the mountain, and with him Simon of Cyrene, the stranger who is sharing the weight of his cross, the two thieves who were led out with him, one on each side, and surrounding them, holding the crowds back with their spears and goading the condemned men to the last slap. The steep climb up the hillside, the soldiers of the army of occupation, unwittingly playing their mysterious part in the redemption of the world by carrying out what is for them simply routine duty, obeying orders without question, today as on every other day.
Behind them, held back by the spears that ring the defenseless Lord, are Mary his mother, Mary Magdalene, and the other holy women who followed him and his apostles about the cities when he went about preaching and healing all manner of diseases. With them the boy John, the boy singled out by Christ as the object of his particular love. And there is a great multitude following, the multitude that has thronged the way from the judgment hall.
Lord, fallen under the cross for the last time, grant to me and to all those with whom you identified yourself in the third fall, your courage, your humility, to rise in your strength, and in spite of failure upon failure, shame upon shame, to persevere to the end.
Make me feel as thou hast felt. Make my soul to glow and melt with the love of Christ my Lord.
The 10th station. Jesus is stripped of his garments. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you,
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
Once more, Jesus has been helped to his feet in order that he may suffer to the end. Once more, the cross has been put upon his shoulders, and he struggles on, still dragging it up to the summit of Calvary. All around him, filling his ears, filling his mind, half deafening him, the cries of the crowd break over him like the waves of a sea in storm, a sea in which it would seem impossible not to he be drowned. They are cries of derision, of hatred, of disappointment, of despair with a note of accusation against him, cries of contempt, cries which could and would drown the soul of any man who loved less than he loves, who knew less of human nature than he knows.
These people who are disillusioned, disappointed, contemptuous, even these people who fear and hate him, are those whom he loves, and who, when at last he has dragged the cross to the summit of the hill and been lifted upon it, will be drawn to him. And not only will they be drawn to him, but their children and their children's children, all through the generations to come, drawn to him not only because he is their king and because his love is manifest in his dying for them. This is the greatest love a man can show, that he should lay down his life for his friends, but drawn to him too, because each one of them will discover themselves in him.
Jesus, stripped of your garments upon Calvary, give me the courage and the humility to be stripped before the world of all pretense, to show myself even to that one whom I love, and whose good opinion of me is vital to my happiness, just as I am, naked, stripped of everything that could hide the truth of my soul, the truth of myself from them.
Holy Mother, pierce me through. In my heart each wound renew. Of my Savior crucified.
The 11th station, Jesus is nailed to the cross. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you.
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
There was an hour of terrible darkness at the beginning of his passion, when Christ was overwhelmed by the anticipation of the suffering he was to go through, when the vision of the evil for which he was to bear the shame overwhelmed him, and the utter loneliness in which he must face and accept the anguish of spirit that seemed to be beyond human endurance crushed him to the ground. Those whom he loved, for whom he was going to accept this dreadful suffering and death, could not stay awake to share his anguish with him, to give him even the support of their sympathy.
3 times on the way to Calvary, his body failed him. Even that tremendous will of love which enabled him to accept the passion after his prayer in Gethsemane could not wholly overcome the weakness of his human body struggling on under the cross. He had to be lifted to his feet. He had to be helped by a stranger.
But now, though many generations will pass before men see this clearly, now that the passion is coming to its climax, Jesus is no longer afraid. He no longer asks to be spared. On the contrary, by his own will he is crucified. By his own will he is nailed to the cross, fastened to it in such a way that he cannot come down, cannot fall from the cross. He who is God is also man, perfectly man. He will not allow any miracle to help him now. Lord, wholly surrendered to the will of your Father, and wholly identified with us, Lord, nailed to the cross by your own choosing, teach us to obey, to accept, to bow to the will of God.
Let me share with thee his pain, who for all my sins was slain, who for me in torment died.
The 12th station, Jesus dies on the cross. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you.
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
At last the road to Calvary is trodden, and now it lies behind Jesus, who has gone up the mountainside for the last time, and had been stripped of his garments and lifted up on the cross. Now from the cross, before his eyes are darkened, he can look back down that road, which is indeed an image of the road through life of all those who will come after him.
On that road, he has known those things which every Christian, everyone who follows him, must know too on the journey between birth and death. He has known pain, exhaustion, apparent failure, shame, but it has not only been tragedy. He has known too the blessed dependence of a man upon other men. He has been helped by them and accepted their help. He has realized the joy and the light that comes to other men through helping him. Above all, through helping him to carry his cross. He has known compassion from the women he met on the way, compassion and the heroism that it inspires. The women who blessed him openly with loud voices, and Veronica, who dared the mockery of the crowd and the authority of the armed guard to come close to him and wipe the tears and the filth from his face.
On that road, too, He has seen the absolute triumph of and trust for him and for his heavenly Father. She has not doubted him. Against all human reason, she has believed in him. On that fiat, be it done to me according to thy word, has flowered with unimaginable splendor. His passion is her passion. She has followed him all the way, and by her side, the beloved disciple John, the boy who is to take the place of Christ as her son. And immensely comforting to him, Mary Magdalene, the notorious sinner who dared the censoriousness of the Pharisees, has now dared the mob surging about him on the Via Crucis and followed him to Calvary.
With her, other loyal, heroic women who are with him now beside the cross. His mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene, had taken their stand beside the cross of Jesus. And Jesus, seeing his mother there, and the disciple too whom he loved, standing by, said to his mother, "Woman, this is thy son." Then he said to the disciple, "This is thy mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his own keeping.
Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit, and into your hands, Jesus Christ, my most merciful Redeemer, infinite love, I commend myself in the hour of death, my body and soul, my heart and my mind and my will, all that I have and all that I am.
Let me mingle tears with thee, mourning him who mourned for me, all the days that I may live.
The 13th station, Jesus is taken down from the cross. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you.
Because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
While the soldiers divided Christ's garments among them and cast lots for his seamless cloak, Mary, his mother, she who had woven that beautiful cloak from the top throughout, came with other holy women and stood at the foot of the cross. So it was then that the soldiers occupied themselves, and meanwhile his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene had taken their stand beside the cross of Jesus.
She had followed him through the narrow streets of Jerusalem as one of the crowd. He did not speak to her in the crowd as he did to the women who wept over him. Neither did he then give her a visible sign of his love as he did to Saint Veronica, when he imprinted her veil with the impression of his beautiful suffering face. Even now, she is mentioned only as one of a group of women who followed him, and there is nothing that she can do to alleviate his suffering. She is content to suffer with him. His passion is hers.
How often before she has been one of the crowd. On the night of his birth, she was one of the crowd thronging the little city of Bethlehem. When he was 12 years old, she sought for him, lost, in the crowded city of Jerusalem. And when she found him in the temple, she heard that strange, puzzling answer of his to her question, "My son, why hast thou treated us so? Think what anguish of mind thy father and I have endured, searching for thee." But he asked them, "What reason had you to search for me? Could you not tell that I must needs be in the place which belongs to my Father?" These words which he spoke to them were beyond their understanding. Mary, Mother of God, receiving the dead body of Jesus Christ, your Son, taken down from the cross and laid in your arms, receive us, to whom he had given his life, and lay us with him and in him upon your sinless heart.
By the cross with thee to stay, there with thee to weep and pray. All I ask of thee to give.
The 14th station, Jesus is laid in the tomb. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you,
because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world.
Every birth of Christ into this world is in one sense a parting from his mother. It must be so. Now he is lifted from her arms by his disciples and made ready for his burial.
His burial is like his birth. When he was born, his mother was in a strange city. She was not in Nazareth, in the little home that she had prepared for him. She had with her some swaddling bands to wrap him in. The beautiful little garments she had been weaving for him were left at home. She did not know, when she and Joseph set out for Jerusalem, that years would pass before they could return, or that the wooden cradle that Joseph had made for him with such love and care, such scrupulous craftsmanship, would never be used by him, or that he must lie in a borrowed bed, a manger borrowed from humble animals, with a mattress of straw.
Mary must indeed have remembered that night now, when hurriedly, because all must be done before tomorrow's feast, Jesus was laid in a borrowed tomb. In the same quarter where he was crucified, there was a garden with a new tomb in it, one in which no man had ever yet been buried. Here, since the tomb was close at hand, they laid Jesus because of the Jewish feast on the morrow. Just as he came into the world with nothing of his own, it seems now he will go out of it possessing nothing, not even his own garments, the garments that his mother wove for him, not even his own resting place, his own tomb. Jesus buried in the tomb, Jesus in burial bands. You are life and the source of life. You are the seed in the earth, the secret of the eternal spring. You are the wonder of heaven and love's unending flowering.
Virgin